Thank you very much. We'll start our departmental budget hearing. First one we have is our police department.
You dressed up for us tonight.
Well, I gotta respect the council and your time.
Thank you, Chief.
And it's page number 71.
So the police they start on page 71 of the budget document.
Okay, can we move that right there?
Sorry, Mayor, trying to get this on right. Can you hear me? Good, okay. What page are we on? Is he doing a presentation? I was taking that away. You want to make sure you
Thank
see
you.
my handsome face, huh? I'm going to start with, catch up with something yesterday. Yesterday we had discussed in the fire budget, actually it was the first item that we discussed was the warning system for, wow, is that yours? The warning system for the radio system for the city. I'm pleased to announce, I don't know what that is. I'm pleased to announce, maybe I have to talk lower. I'm pleased to announce that we have the funding in place today. And it will be split between funding from a generator for the police station that we're putting on hold temporary to see how the referendum, and if we do the referendum, if the referendum is approved, then obviously we don't need the money for the generator. It will partially come from there, and it will partially come from fire department reprogramming of money. So we can get on it right away then. So I want to thank the chief and his staff for coming up with that number to help us in doing this. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thanks. So just a word of caution, the need for the generator still exists, and we were using that because we didn't want to, put it in money for a new generator and then, have to do it at the new location if it passes. So it's not without risks. Obviously, if the generator fails catastrophically, we'll still have some money for emergency repairs. But if we have to completely replace it, we will be short. So I want everyone to understand that. And, that money was going to go toward the potential as a new station, so that, in theory, could increase the price of a bond ask. We're working on a lot of different things, the mayor and city manager, Josh. We're working on a lot of different funding streams right now to get that proposal put together. But I just want to caution that, it's not without risks. It's not like we're taking something we don't need to do it, but there are risks involved, but we can do our part.
I didn't tell you this before, but I promise if the generator fails, that I'll run on a treadmill to replace the generator, and I will stay there as long as I'm needed.
I will join you on it, because,
It would hold me anyway,
help me too.
with my waistline, so.
Mine too.
I'm not seeing that item in the capital
It's
budget.
from
Am
a
I just-
previous capital budget from approximately 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've been kind of winging it and praying, hoping that we could get to the referendum question answered before we have to install a brand-new generator and then potentially move it or have to repurchase a new generator.
And I'm trying to be somewhat optimistic that we'll get the generator on this fall's voting in November, and it'll pass. So then we really won't need it. But in the meantime, I have to hedge my bet a little bit.
You are always optimistic.
All right, city manager, working with Josh, we came up with a proposed budget. It's a fair budget. You can see the budget was cut, but it's something I think we can work within, to be honest with you. Some areas of concern I always like to point out. We can see the replacement overtime account, we asked for 700,000, and 250,000 was funded. Usually, if we don't hire people, that'll be fine, but there is a caution that I want everyone to be aware of. If we hire a significant number of officers who are not prior certified officers and have to go to the full police academy, then we're going to have to, in theory, double pay. We're paying Officer X to go to the police academy and Officer Y to fill the job while he is gone, or he or she is gone. So that's a good problem to have. I think we all know we got some staffing issues, but if that scenario plays out, where we hire a large number of non-certified officers, we could end up in a deficit situation for the year or having to reduce services. Again, I'll take that problem just because we need the bodies, but that concern needs to be put out there.
Chief, we might want to just briefly discuss, or I'll mention it, that we are looking at some potential programs to try to recruit more candidates with some incentives, especially for parallel trained officers that already have their certification. We haven't agreed on anything yet, but we're looking at that closely. We do recognize that we're competing with the whole state, plus Rhode Island and Massachusetts, really most of New England, for officers now. We think we're competitive salary-wise, but when you get into the other fringe benefits, sometimes we are ahead in some and lag behind. So we're looking at it very closely to try to see if we can, jumpstart recruitment.
So then, really, again, the only other area would be the overtime account. People always wonder what's replacement overtime, and overtime, those two accounts. Replacement overtime is for an officer who is either not there or taking a day off, the cost to fill their job because they are given time off. And then the overtime, straight overtime account is for special investigation, in-depth investigations, calls that go on past an officer's shift, or general report writing. So those are just areas that we watch very closely, but the potential is always there because they're really uncontrolled costs. So you just have to kind of do your best to do what you can. Moving to the dispatch page, communications, you will see in the last quarter of the end of the upcoming fiscal year, We've put back in the dispatch supervisor position, so that would be a civilian position to be responsive to dispatch. Obviously, we're getting more and more into highly technical operations in dispatch that we can't expect police supervisors to oversee. So we're looking to create a civilian position in the last quarter there. So trying to minimize the impacts, but allow us to hire a position out there. So that was in the budget last year. We had to cut it because of the concerns for over fiscal austerity, and now we're putting it back in. I want to thank the city manager for putting that back in, because that was a priority that we wanted to do from day one when we did this CAD RMS project, which is finally underway. For those who weren't at Public Safety last night, CAD RMS has actually been rolled out, and I think it's so far going good. So we're pleased to see that'll increase the efficiency and the abilities of the officers and our fire partners as well.
Just one other thing on the dispatching. We originally requested that 2 years ago.
And it was funded. We pulled it back
and-
because of the austerity.
And as the chief said, with the complexity of the CAD system, plus the supervisor then will be able to devote a lot of time to training, whereas now it's kind of, they have to borrow time from each other to do it.
Yeah, it was a challenge to get the CAD provisioned. We had to have dispatchers come off their normal shifts to do it, and this person would have it. Plus, it's a point of contact. And those on the Public Safety Committee, you always hear questions or comments about dispatch. We now have a direct spot so that person can go to and get the answers they're looking for, more than reaching out to me and then going to this person, going to that person, so.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else you want to highlight in the budget?
Again, our capital investments are there. We asked for 7 cars, we're getting 5. Over the last couple of years, the cars have been, whatever number we've been asking for, keep getting cut back. So eventually, we're to the point now we're almost a full year behind with all the vehicles. So that's going to be an issue. And if you have any specific questions about any of the projects that are in the capital account, I'll answer anything we have. It's up to you guys.
Okay.
Let me just add on the cars. Inflation on patrol cars has been atrocious. And it's not just recently, we've gone to a whole different chassis and body type, and there are very few automobile companies that even do a police package anymore, so there's almost no competition. We're satisfied with the Ford. It does what we need to do.
The Fords, we currently run Ford products for the patrol vehicles, and they're very good, but they know it. So they set the market. There's no real competition. Dodge has a couple of things, but they really don't work. We're such a Ford-heavy environment that for us to change to run another set of chassis would cause the fleet maintenance facility a great deal of stress. They have 2 different sets of parts, 2 different tires. And unfortunately, like I said, every couple of years, Ford will redo the chassis, and there's issues with the equipment not being compatible from one model year to the other. We just came through that now, so we should be good for another year or 2. But it's one of those things that they know there's a limited number of police car manufacturers out there, and they do it. We try to keep the cars around 100,000 miles, so they're under bumper-to-bumper warranties. It saves the city tens of thousands of dollars. We had an engine failure a couple of years ago, which would have been like a $16,000 job that was covered fully. But because of the cutting of a car here, a car there, car here, car there, many of the department is over 100,000, over 120,000. The city garage does a great job, but if they have the ability to send it out and have it covered in the warranty, that saves them money and saves them man hours. They count their man hours in man minutes because that's how stressed they are at the city garage. So any chance we have to take the burden off the fleet maintenance facility and have it covered at the same time, that's a double win. So getting those patrol vehicles down to 100,000, under 100,000 would be key, but it comes with a cost. I think the cars, when I first started as chief, were 34,000. This year, they're up to 60,000. And it's obscene, I'll be honest with you.
It's doubled. It's
That's-
almost 60,000
And the
per
quality
unit.
hasn't doubled. It's not that. It's just they got a captive audience and they know. But, you know, so that's why we try to respect the cars, keep them to that 100,000, get them out, sell them while you get some value, which helps us offset the cost of the new cars, and then keep moving them.
Okay. Council, any questions? Yes, Alderman Nash.
Got a quick, on the capital thing, it says women's locker 1. You're not spending one locker for $32,000.
It's a whole project, and again, we desperately are hoping to have the station on the referendum, and we're desperately hoping that the station passes. But we're up to 13 female officers. Number hasn't changed, with 10 female lockers. So we're trying to Band-Aid a solution to put lockers in.
So this is a project, not just
It's a
one.
project.
I was just-
It's
It
not-
stood out, I was like 32,000.
Yeah, no,
for
we're
one
not
locker.
solving it.
Holy
We're just
tomato.
trying to Band-Aid some female
Thank you.
lockers into a space so they feel valued, because right now people just don't have lockers or they're changing. So
Thank you, Chief.
I had the same remark I want to make, but just to clarify, currently we don't have anything for women?
no, from what we have a female locker room for the female officers, but it only has 10 lockers available, and we currently have 13 female officers. So that's the issue.
Oh, okay.
I guess Alderwoman Hayes, you had a question?
So, Chief, could we come back to the police budget?
Yep.
And I apologize, my eyes are getting old, so bear with me.
I gotta change glasses too. I can't read the small print.
So, last year, or this year, projected uniformed officers, 81 and a half. Under the requested, we're going up to 85, so adding 4 and a half. But yet, our actual total filled positions for this year is what?
Total
Currently.
position for this year, we have 70 officers currently from top to bottom. And our authorized strength was at 85. So that's the number we're trying to get back to, is what we're supposed to be is 85. You know, our high was in the 96, I think was our high. And it's been cut consistently over the years to bring it down. So that would be full staffing there. And again, we've said before, where we have shortages, we transfer from the overtime account to, from the employee account, using the budget transfer process into the replacement overtime account. But our goal is always to get to that 85 number.
Right,
Because that increases our service. We could return to community policing 5 days a week. We can, you know, there's extra people, takes a lot of the load off. So getting to that 85 is the number we have to.
no, I understand that. It's that, though, last year we were budgeted for 81 and a half, and you said we're currently at 70.
Yeah, I think we staggered openings, like we weren't allowed to fill these jobs until halfway through the year, which has come and, or will be coming. So that's why you see that 81 number. It wasn't actually 81, it was these three, you have to delay hiring. So when it's all put together, you end up with an 81 number. But at the end of the year, we finished with 85 spots that were eligible to be filled.
Wait, but what I'm asking is, where are we going to be June 30th with actual positions, bodies filled?
It depends, we have an academy class going into June, so I'd like to still be at 70 filled, but it depends what we got coming up with this hiring process. We're actively recruiting people, we have people in the process, so there's a chance that we could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other officers hired between now and then.
Okay, maintaining, not anticipating any more vacancies?
Maintaining, I mean, obviously, part of our concern is with retention, and that's real. To be honest with you, if I had to guess, I'm thinking there might be as many as 10 or 11 officers considering other career options. So that is a concern. That's why we've been working with Josh, Mr. Scalise, and city manager to kind of come up with recruitment and retention strategies. And working with the union, in all honesty, I meet with the union pretty much every other week, and we're trying to come up with solutions. So, I can't give you a hard number. Retirements, none are anticipated, but it could be people that are looking for different career paths, and I don't have a hard number on that.
Okay. So let me, and this might be a Josh question. With the funding that was put in place this year, at the 81.5 positions for officers, and now with the overtime, are we exceeding the budget of what was budgeted last year? Will we be exceeding when we get to the end of June, anticipating if we continue lagging in the hiring process?
No, the vacant positions offset the additional replacement
He beat me
cost.
to it. I was going to say that.
Okay, so will we, so it will
Yeah,
be a
offsets,
wash?
Yeah. And it doesn't affect our hiring, because, and then if we hire, there's a lag because we don't necessarily get a instant.
Yeah, that's why
Police
we were
officer.
talking like lateral transfers are very, very important, because then we can turn around and put them on the street and don't have to fill a job and pay somebody to do it. But right now, because of the vacancies, we're able to offset. And, we've been short 10 officers for the better part of the last year or two. And each year, we're able to come in well under budget, bottom line. So, everyone should understand that. We're not going outside the budget.
Right,
Although it looks at the accounts, look horrible, it's because we're able to work within our own bottom line budget using the budget transfer process to make the magic work.
Right, no, I'm just checking I'm just double checking to make sure when we end at June 30th, that what was allocated between paid and vacancy positions with the overtime, that we will not be exceeding.
And we're absolute worst case, I think even if we hired 10 officers, which would be a home run, and you'd see me yelling and screaming and everything, in June, which is the next police academy, that was such a short window that we really wouldn't hit this fiscal year to that doomsday scenario. So we'd be fine for this fiscal year. It might be a challenge next year, but we'd have the whole year to work on mitigating that challenge.
Okay.
Any other question, council? Yes, Alderman Nystrom.
Thank you, Mayor. If you looked at the governor's proposed legislation, do you feel that it has enough incentives in it to help achieve the goals as stated, or do you think it still could be improved?
The problem is it's a good plan, to be honest with you, but it helps everybody. So all it does is, rising tides will lift all boats. Well, it lifts all boats. Where I think you see a lot of the cities are more challenged than some of the suburbs. And so that benefit doesn't do much for our retention, because if an officer left here to go to community Z, they would get the same benefit. So you know what I'm saying? So it helps the overall field in Connecticut, and it's good. For those who don't know, I believe it's Senate Bill 5046. It's to give college tuition and mortgage assistance to police and firefighters. It's a good move. It's an aggressive move on the governor's part, but it's not. It just helps everybody. Where I think I would have preferred, to be honest with you, just myself speaking, something for the cities, especially the distressed municipalities, to get a little bit something extra to encourage people to work in challenged communities.
So then it would behoove us to have discussions about an incentive above and beyond.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're doing now. We were saying, we're working to find our ways to make Norwich attractive in and of, on top of everything else, to find a way to make ourselves attractive. Because we've done it in the past. Back in the early 2010s, we had a very aggressive benefit package. And we ended up taking, just for the example, I'll use New London. We took close to 9 officers from New London, of which the vast majority are detectives, supervisors, and they've been a great hire to us. It didn't work out for New London that much, but it helped us because we became a destination PD. We took 3 officers from Bristol. You know, Lieutenant Rankin sitting out in the crowd, and Lieutenant Schmidt and Lieutenant Meikle came from Bristol because they came here because of our benefits package. So, like we've been saying, it's going to have to be something we have to make a decision as a community, what we do to make ourselves to be the most attractive destination PD. You know, I'm very proud of the men and women who work for the police department. We're still crushing it out there and doing great work. But we could be doing better. I'll be honest with you. We could be doing even more if we got to the staffing we had when you kicked off the community policing project in the early 2010s. And I miss it. You know, we could be doing a lot better for the community right now. We're becoming too much of a responsive agency where we used to be very, very proactive and got onto problems before they became problems. But there's a cost to that. And I'm not going to lie to you and say, hey, listen, governor's proposal, very aggressive, very expensive, helps all police departments. We need things that help Norwich Police Department.
I'd not here, but like to have an opportunity to have a discussion with you.
Absolutely.
You may have already discussed this issue, but we'll find out.
Yep, absolutely. I would love to. You know, we have so many meetings about how to get ourselves, you know, solutions out of this between the union, the command staff, and city government. You know, we work on it constantly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question, council?
Where are this, and this is just me showing my being a newbie, where are the school resource officers in here?
Very good catch. They're included in the 85. I'll be honest with you, if we were at full staff, in theory, that number should be 89, you know, I'm sorry, 88. 2 SROs for the Board of Ed, and then 1 more for NFA, which they pay for, but we never got to that point, so it's pointless to run those numbers like that, because it just causes more confusion. So me and Josh kind of came to an understanding before. We know the number should almost have a little asterisk, but it's very tough to explain. You're right, they should be a separate category, but because of our staffing rules, it's just more confusion for people trying to read the budget document.
So they're within this staffing?
They're within this number right now. They should be an additional number, and hopefully next year when we have 85 officers, I'll be talking like it's actually 88.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? Yes, Alderman Zaru.
Just for my own information, in the last 5 years, how many officers you think you lost to the next town due to our...
Lost to the next town? We're at
Yeah.
9 right now. We've lost 9 to other towns since 2024. So I'll give you from 2024. That's when it really started coming. We lost 13 to retirement, 9 to other towns, and then 3 left the field altogether.
Okay.
And again, it's a lot of what you're seeing in law enforcement. People are retiring, which happens.
Okay.
But then people are going to the best benefit package because you know, they go over here because the schedule's better or the workload's different. So it's real. It's not, and that's just in the last, since January 1st of 2024, we've lost 9 to other communities.
So, since you and the city managers talking about the incentive, those incentives are, do you going to have a line item for that or just?
No, it's way too early to do it because it's a management labor type thing because it's some of the benefits. So for us to get, I don't want to get too far out in the skis other than tell you that we are working on it as a team. both sides, labor management,
Okay.
police, city, everyone's involved, but we're not there yet to what a proposed solution is and what would be the dollars and cents of that.
Okay. And also, I was looking on page 74, and one number I was interested, special investigation. I think it's 1,100.
Special investigations used to be just the buy money for drug.
Is that? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Drug deals, it used to just be the buy money, but lately, because things have gotten expensive, sometimes we have to do exotic cell phone dumps, or we have to pay to have a murder suspect's car towed back from New York City. We've used that special investigations fund
Yeah.
to kind of cover that, because we don't have a miscellaneous fund, you know.
My question was, is that enough for you? Because that's
We've been able to work within
With
it,
that,
to be
okay.
honest with you, to do it, and we're involved in a lot of state and federal task forces, and they're able to use the power of the state of Connecticut and the federal government for also that buy money. So we're trying to lessen the impact as much as possible. So we're out there, we're doing it. It's just we try to work within that number.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other question?
Make a comment?
Sure.
I just, and this is following up from last night, I just really respect the way that your department has leveraged resources from outside the department through your attention to and involvement in the task force and things like that. And you just gave another example of it, so I commend you for that.
And again, it's a team out here. You know, I have 4 of the 5 lieutenants are here tonight, and 3 of the 5, Captain Lazaro, Lieutenant Schmidt, Lieutenant Rankin. What else we got in here? They're here tonight, and you know, Lieutenant Reichert and Lieutenant Meekler are out there. You got a good police department. You need to hear that. I'm sure everyone knows it, but what they're doing with challenges with the personnel, they're killing it right now. I'm so proud to have those gentlemen sitting behind me tonight, because it just gives you the power to get out of bed every day. Not to sound overly jingoistic here, but it does. It's proud of them. The men and the women, they're out there doing it, and so I appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other question? I have a couple questions. How we stand with our previous CapEx project items? One was that safety vehicle, that was pretty big. Then we added some more bikes
Yep, the
for
bikes are
community
in,
policing.
The
Yeah.
bikes are in, they're getting lettered. We're gonna hopefully get some officers out there. It's tough because of the manpower, but get them downtown. We had a meeting actually down at the station, the potential new station today. The Star Chase system, which is the DART system, and we went over to DART stolen cars. That equipment's in. We're starting to put that on things. As far as most of the capital projects, the only thing we really had outstanding was the generator itself. Other than that, we try to get them off our plate as quick as possible. And then, you know, like with the Star Chase, we had to make sure our policy's up to date, and, you know, getting it into, no need to take the garage's time to put it on a car that's gonna get replaced in a month, so
Also, I understand while we don't know what's the future of new PD is, or if we're gonna go for a referendum, or if a referendum gonna pass or not, whatever gonna happen, right? But in the meantime, we still have to do CapEx project on our existing building to make sure it's in good standing. But some of these projects that we are doing, we can use that equipment even in the new building.
yeah, like the locker rooms, the lockers that we're getting for the officers, again, it's probably like 4 or 5. And it's not a huge number of lockers, but they'll be able to be moved to a new facility. A lot of the stuff we do is unfortunately tied to the building. You know, the IT stuff we do, the server ACs and stuff, nothing that's in the capital budget, but stuff that bulk utilities, and then also building maintenance battle all the time. A lot of that stuff is just battling problems that are just local to that 70th Thames Street address. But everything we get, we try to make it, if we do it, like the CAD RMS system, that's all servers, that will go right over. The radio system upgrades, that will go right over. All that stuff. The stuff that's very expensive and very core to our mission is transferable. unfortunately, a lot of times we're battling, leaky foundations and, just, aged equipment.
And how about the cameras? Like we're spending 58,000 on the camera
That's for
upgrade.
the building camera system, to upgrade that, but that is part of a larger city project. So that was spec'd out by the IT department, so that system would be movable and then integrate into the larger city system. So it'll be on the same platform, viewing platform here, and the schools, I don't know if they're on board yet, but every city building, they're trying to get onto the same viewing platform, so we'd be able to just, literally plug and play, take the equipment out, move it over, and do that, because we're trying to offset the cost as much as possible. And again, I'll just take another opportunity for a commercial. We need officers, we need a new station. That's not getting any better, so we really need to have a conversation if we're going to put it on the ballot in November, which God, I hope we do. We need to have that conversation very quickly, because someone will be on us before we know it. And we're, again, with the mayor and members of the city council, public safety, we're working on multiple other funding sources to come up with, trying to lessen the taxpayer burden, but we've never not stopped working on that project.
Okay, thank you. And John, I was hoping if you can touch a little bit on the regional animal control services, because we had some turbulence in that, but we figured it out. I just don't know if you should brief council a little bit about it, because if it goes the way it's going, we are good, but if there are any changes, that might cause, some resources.
So I talked to the Northeast Connecticut Council of Governments, and I was on, well, actually, you were also on the conference call, and they offered to extend services to Norwich and several other towns, and they've increased our fee a little bit, but they gave us a larger increase the year before, so ours isn't going up as much percentage-wise as some of those other towns, but I firmly believe it's the most cost-effective way to keep doing it, rather than trying to reinstate our own animal control program. And I think Chief would probably have more to say about that.
The days of running your own pound, if you have an option out there, those days have passed. It's a very expensive operation. It's exposes you to a huge liability. So the ability to have outsource that and have it on a regional basis because of the expenses that are involved. There's major upgrades that are coming in 2029, I believe, to pounds. That would, you think the police station's expensive. I'm sure to get a pound that would be acceptable to the state, you're probably going to look at, and I'm just guessing, don't hold me to this, I would say it's probably a $10 million project just for, to replicate what we have now, just because the requirements are coming. So, and not having to administer the pound is a savings for Norwich, and it's very efficient. I know people long back to have the pound, but it's just, this is a good move for the city.
Okay, thank you very much. And I was hoping if you can send some numbers, how many calls they took last year, because it is expensive service.
Yeah, I can get a report from NECOG and forward it to everybody.
Thank you. And I'm glad we worked out things with NECOG.
it's-
That was helpful.
When we got the announcement that they were discontinuing the regional service, we went into a mode to see what was out there of other regional services, and there were none that would take us, since we would overwhelm most regional services that are out there that are much smaller. And then we started costing out our own again, and that's where the reality really hit, because it's we'd have to really start from scratch again with personnel, vans, the whole shooting match on that. And I will tell you, From a selfish standpoint, I used to get a few calls a week from citizens who were upset about their pet or a neighbor's pet or whatever, and we don't get them anymore. I think police probably still gets them, but they refer it to.
Not to the level we used to get. It's not always labor intensive and cost prohibitive. It's just, it was an administrative burden to run the pound.
Yeah, it was. People are very emotional about their pets and other things, so it's like my daughter's cats. They're like her children, so.
Okay. Thank you. Any last question? Otherwise, we'll move to the next one. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank all of you.
The next budget will be Otis Library. Right on time. 1-7. He looks better.
It's
107.
just a little.
It's on page 107. It's the first line item, the miscellaneous funding for non-governmental agencies. We have just their line item. We don't have their detailed line items. And so the first one is Otis. I'm good.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to advocate on behalf of Otis Library. This will sound very familiar. Like Yogi Berra said, it's deja vu all over again. So last year, we were anticipating the defunding of the Institute of Museum and Library Sciences, cuts to the state library budget, and challenging legislation. And we're in exactly the same place again this year. So just to understand what that would mean, the president's trying to defund IMLS. And the loss of IMLS funding and state library funding directly impacts us through loss of subgrants, research databases, ebook and audiobook platforms, legal resources for community members, and staff training, as well as a decrease in interlibrary loans across the state. So that's what's looming. What's actually happening is we took a direct hit this year when the U.S. Department of State shut down our passport application services. And the demand had been increasing significantly over the past year or two. In 24-25, we brought in about $8,700, which I know doesn't sound like a lot in the scheme of things, but to us it's quite a bit of money. And at the time that we were shut down, because of the demand, we were actually 23% ahead of our budget projection for 25-26. So this is a huge loss to us. At the same time, our building is now 20 years old and its age is starting to show. One of our HVAC units needs to be replaced, and the estimate we received was $500,000 to $600,000. Our rear elevator, which was original to the previous building, is on its last legs, and our carpets and furnishings are wearing out. So 20 years has taken its toll on our building. On the upside, despite all of that, we've continued to connect our residents with free programs, services, and resources that help educate, improve opportunities for employment, and better their physical, mental, and financial health, and connect them to the community. Our goal is always to provide more, especially when people are asking more of us. But our materials budget is woefully underfunded. We currently spend about $51,000 on materials. For a library and population our size, it should be $200,000. On top of that, the $51,000 that we pay comes directly from the principal and our endowment. And that's something we really don't want to pull from, but it's all we got. We're open 46 hours per week. Again, for a library and population our size, it should be 53. We would love that. And I think one of the biggest hits is we've been trying for years to try to bring our staff wages to a competitive level, and we were getting there. And then in August of 2025, they released, the State Library in Connecticut Library Association released the new figures for wages in our region, and we have fallen back to the 25th percentile. And that's not the state, that's the region. That's southeastern Connecticut. So again, for a library our size, a population our size, that's a serious concern because our staff are not making a livable wage. And we run the risk of losing them to libraries who will pay them a livable wage. So that's a constant concern. We, at the same time, are always looking for ways to economize, to be efficient, to generate additional revenue. We hold fundraisers, we apply for grants, we review our vendor pricing, we look for quality, cost-effective alternatives, and make adjustments where we can. This year, we changed language databases, diversified our book suppliers, and switched our fiber network. We're responding to community needs in new ways as well. With Staples closing, there was more of a demand for copying and printing, so that has been increased revenue for us, and we also started selling envelopes, and we provide laminating services as well for a small fee. And that's been very popular, more popular than we thought. In addition, we're leaning harder into our partnerships. So we're fortunate to have a wide range of partnerships, and that's one of the sheets that you have in that envelope. It's a very rough-looking document because it's just a snippet from a large working spreadsheet that we use. It's a working document, so that's just a piece of it, just to give you an idea of the groups we're working with, the kind of things we're looking for, and we are fortunate that Norwich has a large number of community organizations who want to work together, and it's been working well for us. And actually, it's been a win across the board because one problem we all seem to have is getting the word out about what we do. Marketing is a constant problem. So when we're able to partner with other agencies, they're getting the word out, we're getting the word to the public. It's saving us money on what we need to spend on presenters, and the public is gaining access to free and low-cost services. They're being educated about things that could really benefit them that they had knew nothing about. So those partnerships are really valuable to us. So the demand for the services is great, and we are fortunate to have such a dedicated and talented staff. But our financial and human resources are stretched as far as they can go. So we are very grateful for the recommendation of a 2.5% increase. That increase will go directly to salaries for the staff to try to bring them up at least a little bit. But we are open and would welcome any opportunities for additional funding, whether it's operating or capital, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions? Okay. Alderwoman Zuccardi, you have a question?
Yes, just because you're just a line item on here, so I wondered what your overall budget is.
Our overall budget is about, I should know that off the top of my head. It changes, doesn't it? Hold on, I'm waiting for this. Our overall budget is, $1,748,715.
And can you say that again? 1 million?
$1,748,715.
So the rest of that comes from your fundraising and grants?
The rest of that, yes, we.
Oh,
use
and
our-
revenue.
We use, yes, we lean on our endowment. We have service fees are for like the copying and printing services. We don't charge fines anymore, but we do still collect materials, anything that's lost or damaged. There are some state grants, we get private funding, there's personal donations, but the bulk of it is through fundraising and endowment.
And how big is the endowment? Or small?
That was about $6 million. But we're limited on what we can take.
Sure.
There's the formula that we have to follow.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other question?
So your annual budget, this is not including what you're requesting from the general fund.
We requested a 7% increase from our existing. We're currently receiving $1,307,766. We requested a 7% increase. Knowing that we would still have to rely on our other income and everything.
Yes, I'm trying to, okay, so maybe your annual budget, including the general fund budget money,
Yes, our general
Is-
fund is that 1.7 million.
So the 408 comes from the others?
Comes from everything else. Comes from our fundraisers and our, used to be from passports, that's gone. But our Friends of Otis Library as well, they provide money as well.
I'm your friend.
okay, so this is your annual operating budget. Out of the annual operating budget, you're paying for salaries. I apologize, because line items just don't help
I
me.
know, that's okay.
Salaries, what else?
Out of our operating budget, we've got materials are there, office supplies, telephones, utilities, our Lion consortium fees. Lion is the libraries online. That's 30 libraries in Connecticut are part of the same consortium. So that's a huge expense, but in the end, it saves us quite a bit of money. Then there's also dues associations, marketing, equipment, building maintenance, insurance.
What's the
cable and
last one?
fiber, all of
I'm
that.
sorry? What's the last one?
Insurance.
Insurance.
Yeah. And then fundraising expenses come out of that too. And then there's all the cable and fiber optic as well. Accounting fees, that's a large chunk.
Okay, professional fees. And you have a staff, full-time and part-time?
We do, we have 13 full-time staff and 15 part-time and per diem staff. In all honesty, I wish it could be more because they are stretched pretty thin. If somebody's out sick, we're in a panic. The other challenge we have this year is our health insurance is going up 10.5%. And that's a lot on the library, and it's a lot on the staff who aren't making livable wages. Not to mention all of our ARPA funds and employee retention funds are now
Gone.
gone, so we're struggling.
Okay, so based on what I see, what you requested was 1.4 million. The city manager's budget is recommending 1,340, so it's about a 70,000. Am I, $70,000 difference?
I couldn't hear that, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said you requested 1.4 million.
Yep.
City manager, if I'm reading this right, is
Yep.
proposing 1,340,000 and some change.
So the increase that is being recommended for us would go directly to salaries,
Right,
and the rest we
Set
would,
for
we're gonna
salary.
try to make up with material fees, services fees, endowment, and restricted contributions and grants, and our unrestricted annual fund.
okay. Thank you.
Any other question?
Yes,
Yes, Alderwoman Zagardi.
When you mentioned the HVAC, the rear elevator, the carpet, the furniture, are those, I don't know how the library and the city are connected. Are those capital expenditures that you would request from us? Or how does that work?
The city doesn't pay for our capital.
Okay, that's what
Yeah,
okay.
we'll have to, we are very grateful to Public Works and Utilities who maintain our building for us. I don't know
Yes.
what we'd do without them. Very grateful for them, but
So
things
it's,
that are accepted, like that 500 to 600,000.
so,
Can we have that, John?
so you having
John says
to,
no.
you having to divert some of your other resources towards those items?
Yes, we're gonna have to,
Makes you look to us
we're gonna
for,
have to go outside even these to try to find some of those expenses.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anything else? Well, I'll just make comment, definitely library serves a lot of people in our town. And that's the reason we even have this line item here, because we do understand what it brings on the table for our community. You know, and it is going up in graph, but some of the things, the revenue that you lost from federal government, that's just beyond our control, you know? And we will continue doing advocacy to revive that revenue. And, you know, that's something we are committed to do that. And you have seen that commitment recently with even Senator Blumenthal coming and, you know, trying to raise that issue in Norwich Library because they know how impactful it is for us losing that revenue in this distressed community. But other than all this, is there anything else that city could be helpful? I know parking was one of the challenge that you talked about as well. And I think 10 parking spots were even allocated to library at one point. So I just don't know if there's anything else we can help with as well.
We pay for that parking, though.
Okay,
The library pays for those parking spaces. But we do, that is something that we are always asking for additional parking for the public. It's not even for the staff. We would love to not have to pay for our parking, but it's a struggle for the staff, for the public to find parking. We have this big, beautiful building and we have programs. If you look at that April program schedule, that staff is crushing it. They are really doing a lot of work to serve the public, but people need a place to park. And
Okay.
we're struggling with that. They don't like to cross two streets. We have Cliff Street, but they have to cross two streets. And that's tough if you've got a mobility issue or if you're trying to juggle kids and strollers. It's tough. We would like adjacent parking, if we could get adjacent parking.
okay.
We'll take whatever we can find.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mike.
Welcome.
Hope you're doing
Thank you
good.
for your support. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you on the 24th.
Should we move to the next one?
Yes,
Or should we?
the next budget is Norwich Public Utilities.
Okay, give me 1 second, John. Are we all good, or do you need 5-minute break? Quick break? We good? Okay.
Oh, okay. Just that's
All right, we're all set. Thank you.
you up.
We have handouts for the presentation. If you want to just keep it moving, we don't need to go through the technology piece, so we're happy to.
For the handouts.
Okay.
So interesting. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody good to go?
Yes, thank you.
This chair feels a little bit like the couch I had in college. Kind of sink into it. I want to acknowledge Laura Huron, one of our division managers. He handles the business services side of the business, which includes all the finance. Stu Peel is here, longest running commissioner at 9 years with Norwich Public Utilities. So thank you for coming tonight, Stu. This is a privilege to have my first presentation as general manager since the first. And I thought we'd take the opportunity tonight to talk a little bit about some of the philosophical values of Norwich Public Utilities. And then, I just want to lead off by, I think every one of you has taken me up on this in my current role or in past roles. If there's anything utility-wise that you ever want to learn more about, you're more than welcome to come see myself and the staff, and we'll spend as much time as we need with you. So, anyway, having said that, Norwich Public Utilities, I think everyone is aware we're gas, water, sewer, and electric for the greater Norwich area. We have about 25,000 individual customers and 50,000 meters that we serve across those 4 utilities. If you go to the second page, and again, we talked about this pretty much every time that we discuss the vision of Norwich Public Utilities, and that is, first and foremost is reliability. And that's something that we have earned a great reputation for, but not something that we take for granted. And when we go through our strategic planning and our budget and things like that, the time to maintain reliability 10 years from now is now, not 10 years from now when the problem occurs and it costs 5 times as much. I think back to when I was in operations, I got a call at 3 in the morning. We had a breaker literally explode. And my operations manager at the time said, hey, I don't know if we can put the customers back on. And so right then and there, I said, we're never going to be in that position again. And we have completely rehabbed that substation and are continuing on a capital investment there. So whenever you talk to anybody, reliability is always the first thing that comes up. Second thing is customer service. And we want to make sure that we continue a high level of customer service. You can get someone at the utility 24/7, a live person. You don't go through an auto AI system or anything like that. As long as I'm there, that will always be the case. And then, obviously, maintaining competitive rates. And everything is about value and balance, right? And it's balancing these other priorities along with maintaining our competitiveness. And we're around 30% less than the investor-owned utilities around on the electric side. But that's not something that we recognize that, that's still very important to keep control of costs. Having said that, as we make investments, supporting growth and economic development in the community is very important. A lot of the larger projects get all the press, but in reality, and I'm struggling with my new glasses here between looking at you and looking at my paper, but a lot of the smaller businesses and residential developments do as much to help the community as these larger developments. So we make sure that we're do everything we can to support all of that. And then last but certainly not least is all of the state and federal regulatory requirements. And this is something that just continues to increase at an exponential rate. I think of the 5 silver Toyota Highlanders that, from Pura that park out in front on the gas side. They're there about 1 day in 3, and I'm not really exaggerating with that, doing some level of an audit or not. Now, we really appreciate the oversight and safety and things like that, but it also takes a lot of staff time and a lot of effort to do that. So going on to the next page, I'll talk a little bit about some of the budget challenges. One of the things that we have seen, and I think if anyone's gone to the gas pump lately, we had a tough winter. Increased consumption considerably for everyone. That also puts pressure on energy costs, and we're seeing that come through. And then you have geopolitical events, and I don't need to tell you the things that put pressure on that. So that is one of the biggest impacts. And then capital investments. So one of the things that the utility, for 40, 50 years, it was break fix. If it broke, we fixed it. If it didn't break, we didn't do anything with it. Right? That was no one's fault. That was just the philosophy in the industry. Now we have transitioned to a proactive approach because in order to grow and in order to develop, and maintain our reliability, we have to make investments. I think one of the most recent examples of that is when we came in front of you, and Chris actually did that, my predecessor, to get approval of the $150 million bond to make investments in our electric infrastructure, and that's one of the divisions that we haven't. Prior to that, obviously everyone's familiar with the sewer plant. We're over halfway through. We are ahead of schedule and under budget, so we're keeping our fingers crossed there. But that is a very big, necessary, mandated investment, but it's spread across less than 8,000 customers, so that's a big load. Technology upgrades, both our financial system and our customer information system are both reaching end of life. So this is kind of like when your laptop gets to the point where, hey, you know, it's no longer going to be supported in 2 years. It's been since 2005 that we upgraded these two systems. So we've been working on this for about 18 months now, a plan to replace and upgrade those systems. But that's also an opportunity as well. Yes, it's an expense, it's a time consuming task for the staff, but we're also going to have the ability to enhance customer service with that. And with the increasing levels, I know the mayor's done some stuff on the city side. We both like our apps, and I think you're going to get yours before I get mine. But it's one of those things where, again, we really want to try to enhance the service side of the business and leverage that technology. Inflationary pressures, I think that's self-explanatory. You go out to buy anything right now, it's significantly more expensive. And there's actually an inflationary index for utilities that has been running, and this is the last average over the last 20 years, so not around 6%, where normally we're used to inflation being around 3%, barring COVID and all that time. So, but if you look at transformers, for instance, they cost 4 times what they did in 2020. And at least the good news is we can get them now, but unfortunately, we got way behind because we couldn't get them. So we've returned to adequate inventory levels, but again, there's a cost to that. Supply chain volatility, and what I mean by that is it's very unpredictable what you can get and what you can't get in this just-in-time inventory world. So it's requiring us to carry a little bit more inventory, gas pipe, things along those lines, just to make sure that we have enough to support our ongoing projects. Increasing contractor and vendor cost, that really starts to kick in. You know, you do a 2 or 3 year contract, let's say to assist with gas main replacement in the road or something like that, and then when that contract expires, well, that contractor is looking to make up for their increase in cost too. So we're seeing that as well, and then obviously the increased regulatory requirements as well. Talk a little bit about MPU support for the city, and I can't say enough about. I mean, we are part of the community. We are obviously customer owned, and something that we take very seriously. But we're also customer and community owned. 10% of, as everyone's aware, 10% of our gross revenues goes back to the city in the form of a payment in lieu of taxes. That is the highest in the industry, so that's a good thing for the city. 9.26 million this last year. I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide and why that goes up and down. I know John mentioned that a little bit in his presentation earlier in the week. A close coordination and support with all city departments, and that I mean really every city department. I can call anyone. I can call the chief. I can call Brian. I can call Deanna Rhodes. I can call the city manager. And we have a city coordination meeting. I know a lot of you sit on that every week to make sure that we're all working closely together. We all have the most current information. You know, it's something we started 10 years ago, and I think it's really helped to improve you know, coordination, collaboration. I think of all the civic organizations that we sit on together. I'm looking at Sheila, and you know, it's those are some valuable conversations and a chance for us to coordinate and collaborate. We do host the EOC at South Golden Street, which we used more than we wanted to this winter, but everything went very well over there. We do the maintenance, Kathy mentioned it, we do the maintenance for the Board of Ed, city facilities, and also Otis Library. So that is the specifically the HVAC or heating and air conditioning maintenance, but we also do generator testing, pump stations, you know, anywhere where we can help. And I don't think we've raised those rates in 10 years. So it is a value to the city, saves 100 to 200,000 a year. But again, we're working together, right?
Jeff, you even helped this year during the snowstorms.
What's that?
That was a rarity, but you helped this year with
Yes.
the
Yep.
snowstorms hauling snow from the downtown.
Yep, everything from dump trucks to plows during the storm, and then trucks to haul after the storm.
Yeah.
And again, we're happy to do that. I think that's one of the advantages of the utility. We have multiple divisions so we can use one division to support the other. It's the same with helping the city, but thank you for that, John. We also fund, we have the municipal area fiber network, which helps connectivity with all city facilities. So we're not an internet service provider, that's not our business, but we provide the pipe, if you will, to transfer that data and make sure that that's up and running. We also fund NCDC along with the city to the tune of, it was like $300,000 last year, I think it's gonna be $325,000 in this year's budget, and support economic development. I know OIC and some other developments that are currently going on. The board has approved additional funding to support studies and direct support of those initiatives. We support community and civic organizations. And again, one of the things that I said at the whole staff meeting when I first took over as general manager is I would like every Norwich public utility employee to do at least one community event, because when you do that, it gives you an idea, it keeps you in connection, you know, with the community that you serve. Okay, next page. This is the city payment history. Again, that's 10% of gross revenues. Now you say, well, geez, why does that go up and down? The main driver on that is, again, it's our gross billings. So if energy costs go up, then gross billings go up, and the 10% goes up. But we also have to collect money from our customers in order to fund that. So the real win here, and why we are so focused on economic development, is just like growing the grand list. When you grow the load in a way that is a win-win and covers the costs for everyone involved, well, then that grows the revenue, and that increases the payment, as well as taxes and jobs and things along those lines. All right, numbers, revenues and expenses. Total sales revenues this year were about $126,440,000. Other revenues, a little under $2 million. Some other examples of other revenues. CNG station sales, penalties. Penalties is a big one. Arrears, you know, unfortunately, and I'll talk a little bit about that in coming slides, continue to grow. So that's water and sewer capital connection fees. We have some cell tower leases. And then the biggest one, which is actually at the bottom, is service calls. So that includes the city services that we provide. It also includes the services that we provide to our customers. Yep. So as far as expenses, operating expenses are just under $121 million, leaving us with an operating income of $7,551,103. All right, capital funding. So I talked about significant capital investments in all four divisions. The drinking water state revolving fund, that's the DWSRF, at $5.8 million. So one of the things that we really focus on is bringing money in from outside the community, because if we're just continuing to collect funds to make these investments from the community, it's not helping the community. So everything from the mayor's connections in Hartford to our connections in Washington to working very closely with DPH and with DEEP, and this has been something that's been going on for years, to bring money in the form of grants. And that is almost $5.4 million on the water side. Clean Water Fund, that's the wastewater treatment plant. So that's almost $19 million in grant toward the project. We don't have to pay that back. PHMSA. So PHMSA is this is a federal Department of Energy grant that we got for natural gas. It's $20 million. There were two different grant applications that we were successful on. This was transformational for the gas division. That's $20 million this is the aging cast iron infrastructure that we have that is the most leak prone, that was regulated to be replaced as part of our DIMP, or Distribution Integrity Management Program. Basically, we were able to take that cost, which was going to be expended over 20 years, shrink it down to 5 years, and then have 100% grant for that from the federal government. So for the gas division, huge win. And then, so now we get down to loans. Obviously, there are matching loans. These are low interest loans, so they're moving around 2%, which is a great rate these days. And Clean Water Fund, that's the loan portion of the sewer plant. And then the other is actually what's projected for the next year with the electric bond. As we begin to electric projects, we're going to be putting a new line up Laurel Hill, get rid of the 4,800 volt circuit up there that has a lot of voltage problems. So we look forward to getting that going. Next one is support for customers and community. So again, this is back to bringing money from outside the community. Of the $2.5 million worth of direct support that we provide to our customers, these are challenging times, and it's as difficult now to pay your bill as it's ever been. We bring in about $1.5 million through TVCCA and other grants for direct assistance for our customers. We actually have a TVCCA employee in our office so that they can help. You don't have to go to another location. You don't get on the bus and go somewhere. You can just go over to two booths, and they will help you fill out the application and bring the energy assistance in. Again, that helps the community, because if a lot of these bills would go unpaid, and then when they go unpaid, the only place to make up that revenue is the rest of our paying customers. So that's something that we work really hard on and enjoy our partner with Josh and TVCCA. The community assistance rate. So we were the first in the state to come up with and this is basically an income qualifying rate where customers will save 10% up to 1,000 kilowatt hours. If they meet those income qualifications, and then if they go on auto pay, they save an additional 10%. We did put a cap on it, so you can't win the Christmas light contest and be on the, but at the same time, we have almost 2,400 customers on that rate, and 228 of them did elect to take the auto pay option. So that's almost 700,000 savings for the community. Energy efficiency rebates, program near and dear to my heart. Started it back in 2006, and you see the numbers there, but it's about $500,000 in direct rebates. And then our tax credit programs. So we've done $150,000 through the Neighborhood Assistance Act, and then $500,000 through the State Housing Tax Credit Contribution Program. So basically what this is, these are taxes that we would pay in the form of gross revenues, but we were able to divert those funds and keep them in the community rather than sending them up to the general fund and then trying to compete to get them back. So that's a home run for the community. So you add all that up, it's about $4 million. We also were able to, I think it's 2 years ago now, we were able to get the legislation to remove the gross revenues tax on gas. 4 years?
4 now, but significant savings, almost $1 million a year in savings for our gas customers.
So again, it's all about bringing money to the community and keeping money here. All right, so that brings me to the budget process. We presented to our board back on the 24th of March. Obviously a little more detail than we're talking today. The commission meets again on the 21st of April. They have the option to approve it at the April meeting or the May meeting to keep us on track. And then obviously our budget would be approved with your approval as part of the city process. And that's all I have.
Much. Council question, Alderman Nash.
I have a couple questions. First of all, thank you, because I know that NPU is continuously purchasing ahead to try to prevent catastrophes like buying water reserve parks and other places, so our water is guaranteed. So I appreciate the forward-lookingness for that. I just have a couple questions. One of them is do we produce any of our own energy, or do we purchase it all off the exchange?
So we purchase all our energy through CMEC, which is the Connecticut Municipal Electric Energy Cooperative. There are some exceptions. So we have 3 hydro facilities that we operate on the Shintucket River, 1 in Ockham and 2 in Greenville, that produce about 5% of the total energy. And that's wonderful. So we have 4 wheels total. There were some maintenance issues and things like that. So it's been a while since they were all turning. As we speak, all 4 of them are turning, generating energy. So that's wonderful. We used to have a jet turbine in our yard where we could generate about 20 megawatts of energy. Unfortunately, due to emissions, it was a 1970s vintage oil-burning Rolls-Royce jet engine, and it just didn't meet modern emissions requirements. Now, through CMEC, there's a solar garden up on...
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
So that's an interesting thing, because that's a CMEC-wide project, so all the member systems participate in that. The electrons light the lights in Norwich. We have about a 30% share in that through them. And
So those are producing energy that we're
Yes.
receiving, okay.
Yes. Yep.
The other one is, yesterday, we were talking with the school board about the buses going to electric. I know before your predecessor had discussed to us like a $400 million improvement to keep up with if the state went with electric vehicles. Are we in a position to provide the recharging batteries for these buses if we're forced to go to the electric buses? Are we in a position to produce the ability to charge these buses without?
That's a great question. We worked very closely with Senator Austin, some of the other representatives who were involved in that legislation. And the short answer is technically, yes, we can do anything. Practically, from a financial point of view, it doesn't make sense. And that's where the challenge comes. It was like $500 million in upgrades in order to, that's just for a number, that's equivalent to the entire capital upgrade that we're talking about across all 4 utilities in the next 10 years, right? Just to give you an order of magnitude. So no, it's not practical. And it's unfortunate because I understand the environmental benefits of it. Unfortunately, the costs, and the Board of Ed, looking at, I know I'm talking to Susan, and looking at the cost of the buses themselves is astronomical.
So are you preparing for this possible shift in?
Well, so everything I talk about tonight is a balance, right? And I think, we try to look at what the true trends are. There's a lot of hype. And at the end of the day, just like hedging energy markets, you have to hedge these types of things. And Norwich is, the income level in Norwich, electric vehicles are very expensive, infrastructure is very expensive, very high density of rental properties. So over 60% of our residential customers are renters. So that makes it difficult to install charging infrastructure and things like that. So we don't see that coming. Having said that, we're relocating one of our substations. That substation will be built looking out for the next 50 years to make sure that it's expandable and it's modular. But we're not going to purchase a $3 million transformer for a load that's not there. Right? That could be added later. So it's always part of our strategic vision, but we're trying to have the balance to make sure that we aren't, putting a lot of upward pressure on rates now for something that may or may not come to fruition and not knowing what the time frame of that is.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. That's all. Thank
Just,
you.
Yes, Alderman Hayes.
Can I, just so I understand, following up, last night, or Tuesday night, it was talked about 2030 was the original projected date. Now they're talking about maybe moving it out to 2040. Like, are you looking at that 2040 and looking at what it may cost or what it may take, or to what extent you would be ready?
Absolutely, and I think to speak to electric vehicles, and I happen to be a car guy, we have a couple of them over at the utility, right? And we have a couple of electric vehicles at the utility, and what we found is they're great for short distances around town. They'd be wonderful for my wife. She drives the exact same commute every single day. But the technology isn't there yet, and there are some exceptions. Tesla makes an excellent product. He's got one. So we have some great direct feedback. But having said that, we knew 2030 wasn't realistic. I'm not ready to comment on 2040. But when we do our capital planning, for instance, I'll give you an example. The transformer that we hang on the pole? Well, a 25 kVA tub, we call it, used to feed half a dozen homes, no problem. We don't buy 25s anymore. We buy 50s. And every time we hang a new one, we have 50, because a lot of that is staff time and labor and things like that. So in ways like that, we're preparing for there to be EVs in a lot of homes, right? Because the incremental cost of that is not significant. What we're not doing is installing new substations or new transmission lines, anticipating a wholesale shift until we see that movement in the market. Then we'll be able to, the advantage here is you have all the decision makers right here, right? So literally in this room. So we can react quickly. We don't need to plan 10 years ahead of time, if that makes sense.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, President Pro Tem.
Jeff, strategic planning, one of the things that we talked about was the utility and the Public Works Department getting together to look into a capital project to upgrade the lighting in downtown. Remember we discussed that? Just wondering if that's on the horizon of the capital projects that are contained in what the Board of Commissioners, what the Board of Commissioners are planning for the year?
That's not a specific line item in this particular budget, unless I'm incorrect with that. But I know that was something that came up, I think, we started putting this together back in October. But having said that, I think that's something that we would have flexibility if it were to come to fruition, and, working together with the city to identify the appropriate funding stream for that. But we haven't called that out specifically. It wasn't mature enough, I think, to do that at this time.
Yeah, and certainly it's not just, okay, do it, right? Because there's a lot more to it. I mean, there's existing lighting down there that could be upgraded, but we talked about a number of topics about possibly getting permission of building owners to mount lights and, and then who's going to pay for the electrical. So, that's going to involve corporation council. It's going to be a big, but it starts with the first step, right? First,
Yeah.
it starts with, okay, let's see how we would go about doing this, right? So
We're very, it's funny, it's two things I don't do, pick out colors and pick out streetlights, right? Because there's a lot of opinions on them. But we install them and make them work. And we just went through we hired a contractor to come in and replace all the ones downtown. There were some with rotting bases and some where the poles have been hit by cars. And I don't know what it is with drivers and utility poles lately, but they hit a lot of them. So that doesn't necessarily address the changes we want to make because, to your point, they're decent from an aesthetic point of view, the lights that we have. They're not really a great design from a functional point of view, and they create dark spots and things like that. So I certainly concur, and I think that's up front where we can provide within the existing budget the expertise and the input to get us to the right product. And then once we do that, then we figure out how to make it happen. Again, as you said, is it connected to buildings? Is it another pole-mounted light? There's a lot of options out there, and so I think that's the first logical step. But we look forward to working with you on it.
Because I will say on the positive side, the work that you're doing with the LED streetlights in the neighborhoods has been phenomenal. I mean, there's very little light pollution, but it is much brighter on the street. And they like to try to accomplish that in the downtown as well.
It's all about efficiency, and the wonderful things with those Cobra has they're what's called full cutoff because of the desire to not have light pollution, right? Whether it's going in your window, whether it's going in the sky, put the light where you need it, and so certain lights allow that design. Unfortunately, the period lights we changed to LEDs, but the reflector is not of the appropriate design to really give us, what we're looking for.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Nystrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Since 2019, we were positioning ourselves with the OIC, and while we won't talk about individual projects, I know that that's an anticipated area for new revenue, just like Preston Riverwalk, as that becomes closer to fruition. I know you've been positioning our utilities to be in place, to be there, not only to provide for the utilities, but to receive the revenue. Can you briefly give just an overview of that? I mean, there's some new members here on the council, but always anticipating new areas for new revenue is something you always have done as a utility. So that would be my request.
No, of course. Happy to do it, and, it's one of those things where a lot of time and effort goes into this behind the scenes. I mean, OIC, we're talking about Ockham Industrial Center, we're talking about that a couple times a week. So myself and our staff are working with the design team up there. The Board of Commissioners actually approved a $250,000 allocation out of our economic development funds to fund Burns & Mack, which is one of our top electric design companies that basically goes out and determines the feasibility and how we would serve that. There's one major potential anchor tenant, and obviously is all I can talk about on that, that goes up there. So we're making sure that we understand what we would need to do, how we would serve it. We're also looking at relocating our Bean Hill substation, which is in the floodplain out behind Dixie Donuts. I literally rode out there in a payloader the last time we had the flood, so we want to get that out of the floodplain is either up onto Yannick Lane or maybe that goes in OIC. And don't hold me to that. I just, ideas are always on the table. So those are the kind of things we're looking for. When you get down to major developments, then, that's all, especially with large companies, 8, 10 megawatts plus, then that's going to be a negotiable thing where they're going to be looking for a wholesale power contract. And so our main thing is to make sure we know technically how we're going to serve it, and then obviously we'll need to enter into agreement. So one of the largest projects is hopeful in the next few weeks, actually, to start having those detailed conversations. So that's great. As far as Preston Riverwalk, that's been a long time coming. I remember Joe Gentile pulling up front 20 years ago when I started. But having said that, I actually got an email from Chris Clark down to the Mohegans today. I'm going to be meeting with him in the next week or two, and just making sure that we are positioned to provide. And I also mentioned the Laurel Hill upgrade that we're going to be doing. That serves a dual purpose. We can completely justify and fund it based on upgrading the 4,800 volts to 13,800 volts, which gets rid of our voltage problems with the new electric loads. But it also will be built to standard adequate to serve the state hospital, depending on what occurs down there. And because the state hospital is continuous to Norwich, we have a very good potential to serve that, with electric, gas, water, and sewer as well. So all of those are part of the conversation. We work very closely with First Selectman of Preston, Sandra, and making sure that, again, we're doing everything. Because MPU, you hear me say this a lot, we're a support organization, right? At the end of the day, we don't need to be the tip of the spear. We're not out ahead, but we're right behind supporting, what's going forward and the things that all of you, bring forward here in Norwich.
The statutory protection, if you will, for the sale of gas, that's still in place for Norwich and Preston?
Correct, yes. So what the mayor, Alderman Neisman is speaking to is the fact that in Norwich and Preston, we have the exclusive franchise to provide gas. We also provide gas out into Basra, the Elmbrook facility, but we had to sign an agreement called a right to recapture with Yankee Gas. So if they were to come in and decide that they wanted to serve it, then we would have to turn that service and the associated infrastructure over to them. So that development actually paid for the full expansion of the gas, so there was no risk to the existing, because I want to always be very conscious of the existing utility customers and make sure they aren't incurring any additional costs, for this. But again, anything that happens down at the state hospital, we would have the gas service for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question, council, at this time? All right, well, just one quick question. So in your operating expenses of 120 million, you are counting that 10 million approximately that goes to Norwich in the operating expenses?
Yep, that's part of it.
Okay. And just quickly on like windmill project, right? Are we gonna reap any benefits out of that? Because it will have that regional impact.
Right, so as far as there's, as a society, absolutely. As CMEX specifically, our energy provider, is not bought into the windmill project. But having said that, it creates a lot of opportunities for the region. And one of those opportunities, with wind, you need a lot of storage, because I'm a sailor, as sometimes the wind blows, sometimes it blows a lot, and sometimes it doesn't blow at all. Right? You can't necessarily predict when that happens. So joking aside, I think there will be some opportunities for Norwich. And I think of, you're familiar, there was a large battery storage project proposed for up on the Larson property on Yannick Lane. And that's kind of on hold at the moment to see what happens, with the overall politics and whatnot. But should that go in place, that's something that we would serve out of this new substation that I'm talking about. But also that would be taxable, they would be taxable assets for the city of Norwich. So even though it's not necessarily the wind industry itself, or the wind energy itself, it's the wind industry. And I know even the Port Authority and Shipping Street and stuff like that, you never know, there may be some opportunities there.
And then what do you think about this waste to energy plants, which are also gaining some interest in the region?
Well, that's something from a distribution company point of view, I don't know
Okay.
if I have a huge opinion on. Again, if the revenue, if the environmental side is dealt with appropriately and it brings tax revenue and energy, one of the things that we look at, not in Norwich Public Utilities, but in the grid as a whole. So there's the independent system operator, ISO, and they have to manage and make sure that we have enough generation for all of the consumption. And 2 Christmases ago, I spent Christmas Eve in the control room because a major generator tripped offline. ISO called us and said, we may have to call you and have you shed 30% of your load, which means literally open breakers and intentionally shut customers off. So position none of us ever want to be in. So a roundabout answer to your question, whether it's windmills, whether it's trash to energy, whether it's other types of generation, we need real generation assets. There's base load that you talk about, which is nuclear and traditional generation, and then there's solar and wind and things like that. And just like an investment portfolio, having the more diversity that you have in that portfolio, and again, this is kind of out of Norwich Public Utilities realm, but we're ultimately the receivers of it. The more diversity you have, the better it's going to be for everybody, cost-wise, reliability-wise, you name it. So that would be my take on it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Oh, you have question? Okay. Alderman Zotto.
In the part of the challenge, you mentioned some regulations, impediment. Are there some local regulation yet that is, you think that making hard for?
Well, so most of it is at the state level. Okay. So if you think about, so portions of our business are regulated and portions are not. And I can, when you come visit, I can give you a much more detailed explanation.
Okay,
Not 'cause I
I'll
know
be
you
there.
need to come over, but one of the biggest areas is the natural gas system. So obviously, we take safety extremely seriously, and I have the utmost confidence in that. We're leaders in our industry in the entire region. But having said that, I'm not kidding about the Silver State vehicles being there one day and 3. I mean, they come down and audit us a lot to make sure that our documentation, our safety procedures, everything are where they need to be. Water, wastewater, again, that's a public health, right? So a lot of regulation coming down on the water and wastewater side. That's what drove the new wastewater plant. Now, we're all going to benefit from it because the water in the river and in the sound is going to be cleaner and better for recreation. But it was driven out of regulation. On the water side, there's this thing called PFAS now. Every ski jacket you buy or shirt that has a water-resistant coating on it, that's PFAS. And that gets washed into the groundwater. Now, fortunately, our system is fed by reservoirs, and our reservoirs don't have PFAS in them. Our well does. We have an emergency well off of the Yannick River. So we were actually able to get, we don't know the final percentage, but I believe it's going to be around an 80% grant to put a system in to remove the PFAS. Okay. It's another project that comes directly from that regulation. And, if Larry Sullivan was here, who's our water and wastewater version of Laura, he could spout off at nauseum. So I'll make sure he's there when you come over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All set, council? All right, well, thank you very much. Thank you for all you do and all the community work that you participate as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
And
asking for a break. 5-minute break?
Yeah.
is it okay, Brian? Okay, sure. Thank you.
Stand the stretch. Oh. Yeah, I'm tethered. Oh, they left. That's not good. They left when they left. That's why they stayed. You know, like insurance. It's not covered under water damage.
It would have to be like a history, because, you know, it's a wear and tear issue. It's not one that is like a tree fell or something like that.
Well, we had ice jams are covered. This was ice jams. That's a sudden accidental. I would find out. Yeah, well, but the ice jams, we're trying to get the insurance, so I'm not trying to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Well, you know, because then you say, hey, we can't match, you know, and that's where it gets key. You know, like I got my whole roof, shingled because they couldn't match the shingle. So, I mean, you might be able to get, on paper. Yes.
Like where, like, things cover it.
Well, that's different because we could have prevented that. When you can't prevent 4 days in a row up on the roof, it's a little. I tried. Yeah. We're looking for that. And how much we pay for this? I don't know. It's gotta be 30,000.
I think this was well more than 30,000. I think it was close to 60.
This is close to 6.
I think this was close to 60. I can ask my. I'm not kidding.
I want $600 million, please, for projects in Norwich.
You know, from right there, you look like Rocky.
Page 1,000, my budget is on
you
page
mad at him?
1,000.
He looks like Rocky. He's just sitting
No.
there.
His hair's too thin on top.
200 million?
Did you hear what he said?
I heard.
Just once, do it for me. My First Amendment rights. Say,
It's been recorded.
Starts on page 87.
All right, we're ready to go with the Public Works budget,
Yes, we are.
page 86.
87, right.
Okay.
And that's the summary page. I'll just want to make a note of a couple items, just generally. Refuse and recycling is starting to catch up on us. We've had very competitive tipping fees for a number of years in the southeast region. We've been very fortunate. When this first recycling and energy plants were constructed, this area was high, and then the Hartford Regional was lower. And we know that the Hartford area energy, refuse to energy plants are gone to a large extent, and we've been able to keep ours. But now the market is starting to catch up down here, so the tipping fee plus the hauling fee are two drivers of Public Works. We negotiated the hauling fee, but the tipping fee is something that is more difficult to, because it's a regional type of situation. So when we get to that, Brian could talk a little more about that, but I just wanted to point it out. And you can even see it in the summary. You know, we were at 3.4 last year, and now it's up to almost 3.9. So it's a $500,000 hit just in that one line item. So since our budget only went up 1 point, what was our whole total budget, general fund? 1 point something? It was less than 2.
193, something like that.
Yeah, it was less than 2. The debt service went up $1 million, and the tipping fees went up 1.5. The rest of the increases were a little more than that, but then we had some savings in some other places. So really, between the debt service and the tipping fees was the bulk of the increases. Thank you.
This thing, yep, all right, it's on. Yeah, like John was saying, and I had broken out some numbers just for reference sake of the overall public works budget is approximately 491,000 higher than it was last year. 447. That is refuse related. So it's overall a 3.7% increase for the Public Works Department. The rest of it, there are some reductions in this budget. The reductions are mainly in the variables that are related to how many pieces of machinery break down and how much snow we get. As everyone's aware, I'm sure, we had a very bad winter, 70 inches of snow over the course of the winter, and I think out of the 13 storms, 11 of them happened on weekends or holidays. I guess the proper pun would be it was a perfect storm for snow removal for this year. So we took a big hit in overtime dealing with that. Previous years, we've gotten very lucky as far as snow removal went, but yeah, this was one of the bad ones. So you can't necessarily budget for that every year. You want to try to hang around a little more of an average, and the same as far as the fleet maintenance supplies budget, that was holding pretty strong. And other than that, I don't know if there's any specific questions related to anything in the budget.
I do want to make one more comment on our $3 million capital budget.
Yeah.
Is a great idea that was formulated a number of years ago. But our equipment in Public Works is relatively in good shape because we have the ability to usually purchase one every year or every other year. So we don't have an old fleet. And it really showed up this year when, considering the usage on the trucks, we didn't have overtly high maintenance costs on it.
Yeah, actually, to that point, the 16-inch snowstorm that we had at the end of January, we had no breakdowns in our fleet whatsoever over the course of that. The blizzard, the 24-inch one, a little different. There were some breakdowns, and there were some vehicles getting stuck. It was just a lot of snow in a short amount of time.
Well,
Dealing with it.
as our esteemed councilman knows, he had to deal with it too.
Yeah.
That second snow was so much heavier in water weight that it was a lot harder to push.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Thank you. Alderman Nash.
Yeah, I'll just start out. Fleet maintenance, I have a soft spot for those guys down there. I see you have 9 employees. I know they were kind of short, well, 8. I know they were kind of short last year with that. Are you going to be able to handle that? And has there been any thought of outsourcing some of the maintenance other than the police cruisers, which are 100,000-mile warranties and stuff? But are they going to be okay down there with 8?
I think they are going to be okay. We have a new mechanic starting June 1st, actually, to replace a recent retiree that
Yes,
you
sir.
may be familiar with.
Yeah.
And he's coming in, going through the hiring process right now, the background.
Those guys do a phenomenal job. Just wanted to let you know. I mean, I don't have any other questions, but they're true. If they, the pride doesn't ride without them, so they do a great job.
There aren't any discussions of additional outsourcing at this time.
There is none.
To answer your original
Okay,
question, no.
thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other question? Alderwoman Jill Zicardi?
Aye.
The item for roof maintenance, the request in the capital budget, you had requested 300 and 120 was allocated. And my question is that going to like a general fund, or do you have specific projects that you're trying to fund?
It is a general. The intention of that was started with my predecessor, and that was that we needed to have money set aside in situations where roofs needed attention right away. So our plan was to put a little bit in that each year, and eventually we'll get to the point where we don't have to. I think the next roof that needs serious consideration actually is the one over my head at 50 Clinton Ave, not this one.
Oh, I was like, huh?
This one was done a couple years ago, parts
This
of
is
it.
good,
But yeah, so we are working.
except where the flashing was.
Hello? Okay. Working with a vendor.
I can hear you.
The battery's probably dying if you want to try the other mic.
How's this? Yeah, that works better. All right. We're working with a roofing vendor that's on the state bid list that is assembling an inventory of all the roofs that are under our control, ours being the city public works, not necessarily the schools. They take care of their own buildings, and what he wants to do is put together a maintenance plan to help offset some things that could be addressed ahead of time rather than in a reactionary way.
For that study?
They are putting that together as part of their services, so there is no additional cost for them. But they are the preferred vendor for. They contracted out to have this roof, a few roofs around town done, and I think they work with the school systems as well. So
does the 120 that you got funded go into a pot with other
Yes.
money?
Yes.
Okay, what's
Yep.
what's the rough balance of the?
I don't have that number. I will say that we had money set aside in this pot, and the most recent thing that we looked at was reinforcing the support structure for the chiller unit for the ice rink facility.
Okay.
And as part of that, when it went out to bid, it didn't go out to bid, we used the Easy IQC procurement process for that, and they brought in a contractor that developed a plan to reinforce the support structure with the chiller in place rather than taking the chiller off the roof with a crane, putting it on the ground, taking the entire ice system, chilling system offline while all the work was being done. So it's a much cheaper fix for what needs to be done. And so the money that was set aside for what was anticipated for that would go back to the roofing bucket, and then we'd be ready for the next problem that comes up.
So are you, I'm sure you have to balance between addressing it before it gets too bad, but
Yes.
not addressing it too soon.
Yep.
So do you have plans for the 50 Clinton?
Right now, we're having it scanned. They do an initial scan for that roof, for any roof. They did it for this roof, they did it for 23 Union. And what the scan does is they look for wet spots, which are signs of possible problems down the road, so they know how much work would be involved in doing an overall roof replacement or just doing an overlay. It just really depends on the condition of the roof underneath.
And then I had the same sort of question about the sidewalk. Is that the sidewalk allocation, which I'm not finding now? Oh, 200. Is that just a general fund as well?
In a way, it is a general fund, but each year, one or two times, we get volunteers from the residents to participate in the sidewalk program. So as part of that, we need to have funding ready for when those, we'll collect however many we can to put out a decent bid package so that we're not just replacing one section of sidewalks in front of somebody's house at a time. We'll put together 5, 10 if we can.
And it's like a matching thing, right, where the residents match you?
The residents pay for the concrete for the sidewalks, and the city pays for the granite curbing.
Seems low to me for sidewalks and the way what
Well,
I'm understanding.
Yeah, it's just usually based on the number of people that sign up for the sidewalk program.
Oh, okay, so it's the program. It's when you do the program, you have to have the matching money and
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
got it.
yep.
I didn't understand that. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any other question? Yes, please.
So, did you say that, what, the roof on the main part of this building needs to be replaced?
The roof over our head has been redone already.
Yeah.
The flat section of roof. The slate section still needs to be redone.
That's where I was going with that.
And there
'cause
is-
I know the mansard part is,
Yeah.
got some challenges.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Any other question? Yes, Alderman Astrom.
It's not a question, just a thanks. During the winter, I witnessed the courtesy and the deliberate effort by your people in the trucks, not only to clear the roads and keep them as safe for navigation, but they also took the time to be aware at times when you hear stories about people's homes being plowed under, plowed in. I witnessed a number of times how they were really trying not to let that happen at the same time. And there's a balance to that based on the severity of the storms, like the two big ones we had. But they really do a nice job.
Thank you, and I did pass that on previously as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question?
I'll find it. No, I'm good.
Okay. Yes.
When we had strategic planning, you know, we mentioned what a great job your crews did in the storm just prior to that. And then there were like 6 more storms after that. So
Yep.
to pile, to echo, I should say, what Peter just said, it was just, every weekend you turned around and there, you see those folks out there and they're working those long shifts and working hard. I mean, yeah, we had, let's say 3 years of easy winters. This year, we paid for it, so to speak, right? This was a tough one. But
Caught up to
your
us.
crews, it's already been said, but your crews just did a great job. I mean,
I do consider,
given that amount of snow, I mean,
yeah, I do consider myself very lucky that I have a very good group of people working with me.
I will say the other thing too, in terms of the giant potholes, I know you can't do permanent repairs,
Right.
During the cold weather, but I will say that people seem to be on top of the main problems and getting them at least, putting Band-Aids on them until you could fix them.
Yep.
So-
It's like playing whack-a-mole sometimes.
Oh, my
but
gosh.
we try to hit them as fast as they come up, so. That's a good question. I got a chart here for that. So with the finish of this year's season at 70 inches of snow, we used 2,400 tons of salt.
Great, Nick. Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to compare that to previous years, last year was 1,400.
Was it hard to get it? Because I know it was, state had shut down.
Well, I mean, so that's one of the things that we actually are usually well prepared for. Our two salt sheds hold a combined total of 4,000 cubic yards, and we try to start off each year, each fiscal year with the sheds full, because if you buy the salt in the summertime, sometimes you're going to get a better price. It depends on when the new contract for the state comes out and what the prices are set at. So right now, currently, we're a little low, but we still have approximately 2,400, which is what we just used on this terrible season of snowstorms that we use. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Just a couple quick ones. First of all, thank you very much for all the work you have done. And I know sometimes our citizens get very impatient as well. So thank you for making sure you were replying to them. Anytime we receive any email in mayor's office, we forward it to you, and you were kind enough to tackle the situation. Other important thing was, how many sweepers do we have currently? And two.
Two.
And how much each one cost?
Originally, I don't know what they originally cost coming in, but I had put into the to
Okay.
replace one of them, but that was, and I mean, that's the only thing that wasn't shown.
Okay,
They're very expensive,
they are?
and I relate them, excuse me, I relate them to a copy machine, even though they're not related. A copy machine has a lot of moving parts, conveyor belts, things, and copy machines, although the technology has changed, they still break down quite a bit. If you have office copy machines, you know that. Well, a sweeper is very much like that, has a lot of pulleys,
Brushes.
blades,
Yep.
compressor. It's a very complicated piece of machinery, plus it's in about the worst environment you could have. Creates a dust storm and debris and everything gets into the parts of the moving parts. So they're high maintenance, they're very important, although less than they were 10 years ago when we used a combination of sand and salt. And for better or worse, and maybe it's not good for the environment, but the salt dissipates and you don't have a lot of cleanup on the gutters and things. Whereas when you had the sand, you had a large accumulation and it would get into the catch basins and everything like that, so.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and on the downtown lighting issue, basically, the reality is that now state is pumping a lot of money in workforce housing in our downtown. We are pumping millions of dollars in Jubilee Park and creating nice marina and Howard T. Brown Park. So we definitely will see a lot of walking traffic in upcoming time. Current lighting that we have, I'm not saying it's not sufficient, but it's the scattered one. It's not directly that goes to the sidewalks itself. And in New London also, they have small poles installed, which while you're walking, it sheds a lot of light. So that is one avenue. Other avenue is changing the light fixtures to the one that sheds light down there and converting them. And it's nice green, it will still be consistent with the look, and they will shed light down. So I think this is right time to kind of start evaluating how much it's gonna cost and the areas in downtown that needs a little more lighting as well. So if we can do some evaluations and work with NPU, this will be good time, and while we apply for any further CIF round or any other avenue, or even utilizing some of the cannabis funding, which allows us to be used on streetscapes and stuff. So next year, we have a better game plan on that. But thank you very much for all your work. Thank you.
Thanks.
So I guess that's it for today, and next one is on Monday.
Next is Monday.
Yep, 6 o'clock. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here.